Rosedale Airport Commerce Park Commission meeting to order at 6 o'clock. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Kolarski, would you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call. Mr. Moran is here. Mr. Rathel.
Here.
Mr. Mans.
Here.
Mr. Filarski. Here. Mr. Hornby.
Here.
Mr. Tanova is excused. Mr. Naidu.
Here.
Next item on the agenda is the addition or deletions to the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions?
I move approval as submitted.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Naidu to approve the agenda as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the June 28th, 2022 special meeting, the approval of August 15th, 2022 general meeting, the approval of September 19th, 2022 meeting minutes with the general meeting, and the approval of the September 28th, 2022 special meeting.
Would need to do individual approvals or just all together?
We probably should do them individually.
I move approval of the minutes for Monday, August 15th, 2022.
Got a motion by Mr. Rathel?
Support.
Support by Mr. Mans to approve the August 15th, 2022 general meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. We got three other meetings, the June 28th, September 19th, and September 28th that need a motion.
I'll move to approve the September 19th, 2022 meeting, minutes of the general meeting.
By Mr. Naidu, supported by Mr. Rathel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. I will entertain a motion for the June 28th, 2022 meeting.
I move approval of the minutes submitted for Wednesday, September 28th, 2022.
Motion by Mr. Rathel. Support by Mr. Naidu to approve the September 28th, 2022 special meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries.
So I make the motion to support or to approve the September 2022 minutes.
The 3 minutes that have been approved are August and the 2 September, so we need a motion for the June 28th.
Yeah, that's what I just.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Filarski. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Rathel. To approve the June 28th, 2022 minutes for the special meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries.
Well, I'm going to abstain from that one since I wasn't here. I was not.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Naidu abstains from the June 28th, 2022 special meeting minutes approval. Next item on the agenda is our financial report for September 2022. And before us, we have our financial report. Our budgeted revenues for the year are $978,581. Our revenue year to date is $610,494, which equals just under 57% of our budget. Our expenditures are also budgeted at $978,581. Our current encumbrances and expenditures to date are $398,922, and that equals 17% of our budgeted expenditures. We currently have $645,846 in our capital reserves as of the end of September. In our past due rent summary for the past 30 days plus is $24,774. Janelle, is there anything on the financial report you'd like to point out to the board?
A couple of things. Wanted to follow back around now that, just discuss Lattice for a second. Being that we have new legal counsel, that has gone over to the new legal counsel to get conversations going in order to open up a case to move forward with collecting from that debt. Haven't heard back from them, but just wanted to let you know that I did brief them on that, and it was submitted to them so we can figure out how to move forward. Any questions or anything with that? The T-hanger, which we had discussed last meeting as well, I did finally reach out and contact family members. It did not sound like there is any money that is collectible from that. I spoke to, I believe, the daughter and then the son-in-law, and they did get the hangar cleaned out, and it is re-rented. So I did put someone in there. They cleaned it out over the last month, and there's somebody in it already, somebody that was on our waiting list. Building 63 tenant is paid in full. So that's all set. And then the next T hangar tenant is also paid in full through the end of December. So effective January 1. So some of those things have changed.
Okay.
And I believe that's it for that.
Anyone have any comments or questions on the September financial report?
I have a question. Are we just going to write off then the T-hanger lease and take it off the report?
The 551.94. I mean, I'm looking for, if it's not collectible, and they told me it wasn't collectible, so why leave it on there, I guess is my question.
Is that your recommendation?
That would
we
be my
should-
recommendation.
Any objection from writing off the past due rent amount of $551?
Mr. Chair,
If, Ms. Janelle,
it would really be through, it would be 1,054.94, just to make sure everybody's clear on that. It would not be the 551.94.
in the, where does the difference come from?
Well, it would be, because this is 30 days past, 30 days plus, this would be to 10/1, and they didn't vacate until really technically the beginning of October, so through that month.
You're saying they owed us October rent as well, on top of the 551?
But we do have rented out currently.
They just moved in,
Gotcha.
so. But still would be my recommendation.
Any objection to the writing off of the amount of 1,054, which would include the October rent?
Just one question, so was this an estate? And what is this status? I'm not aware of what happened here.
He's been in a nursing home,
Okay,
and so they were having troubles just even making ends meet with that, from what I was told.
okay.
So,
Are there any other comments or questions on the financial report? If none, I'll entertain a motion to approve with the understanding we're writing off the E-hanger past due amount of $1,054.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Mans. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is the manager's report, the AICP. Janelle?
okay. figured it'd be easier just to come up here. Just really quickly. So there's a picture of the split face wall over there at Commerce Park. I did end up talking to Sohio, and we're looking to do a 12-inch versus what it says on display here is 8-inch. But just to give you an idea of what it might look like. So the color of this is going to be matching what is on the storage facility across the street. So I'm getting ready to meet with MDOT for the upcoming MAP meeting sometime here soon. I don't have that scheduled yet, but some of the things that me being working with CNS to put on the capital improvement plan that we submitted last week to MDOT. Some of the projects include obviously the Taxiway A. The Taxiway C was on the prior ACIP for the joint ceiling. However, one of the projects that I found was the crack ceiling and paint markings, and then runway 1735, the rotating beacon, a terminal building, updates on that, and then we're looking into removal obstructions for trees. So you. Mm-hmm.
So, two questions on that rotating beacon. Are these future projects, or are these, because we've done the rotating beacon already, right?
We fixed it, but it was on the ACIP from before, and we can leave it on there and remove it at any time. So it does not have to stay on there. And in your packet, and this might be hard to see on the screen, but if you have a printout of this toward the end of your packet, and it will break down the years of what the capital improvement projects are looking at with the new bill funding that's coming out as well.
That's fine. Terminal building, can you just review what that actually means for us with this plan?
10. So in researching some of the bill funding, which is another grant that the federal government just released a few months back, one of the infrastructure laws that they had put in place was that improving the infrastructure of terminal buildings. And being that the FBO is a terminal building, the $5 billion, it's a super highly competitive thing to even get, but one of the few things that they look for these grant applications that are put in is the history, but then also the energy efficiency of the building, like new windows, new LED lighting, are some of the things that would help to make you more eligible for funding for that. So being that we have the history there, I think that we would be likely to get that funding. So in order to further investigate, to determine what repairs we would need for that building, it would cost $1,000 just to kind of look to see what we would need in order to go about how much money that might look like for that funding.
Would that study be performed by CNS?
Yes. Yep. So if you look at the 5-year capital improvement plan, which it's this form back here, you guys can take a look at that. And if you look at 2025 and 2026, we kind of estimated based upon new windows for that building, increasing ADA compliancy for the bathroom downstairs, and then the windows in that building. And we were looking at upward, and then also helping with the security, because if we wrap that in there, we can make the gates working again and functioning. So if you look at 2026,
Janelle, so this is just up for discussion. We are not approving this.
no,
as
no,
a-
this is
as a
just up
plan.
for discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just to be clear, it's just kind of getting the ball rolling.
Okay. You'll be bringing this back at some time at a later date for approval?
Yeah, I would,
There's no,
I
and,
don't have the MAP meeting, which is the meeting that you actually sit down with MDOT to further discuss this. So any project on the ACIP will have to be going through approval process, just like you did for the taxiway.
Mhm.
So just because this is on here does not mean that this is what we're doing.
Okay.
But
I would encourage everyone to take spend some time looking at this, and if you have any questions, ask Janelle, and we can further discuss it at a
Yep.
later date.
just bringing it up to everybody's attention. So the next thing that I do want to bring up, I'm just going to show a quick, hopefully this video works. So one of the statewide grant programs that I had noticed when I was at the meeting that I went to in Mackinac was the grant program for crack seal and paving on 422. So in this picture here, right through here, it's cracked almost down the whole length of the runway, all down 422. I took a short video so you can, it's crooked, but all the way down where the seams meet, where they did the paving, you can see the cracks. So this one I would like to move forward on, just because after 7 years, it's time for just preventative maintenance on it. And if you look for the total shares that it would cost us, it's not a whole lot of money in the whole grand scheme of things.
Is this a competitive grant, I'm assuming?
Yes. So we don't even have approval. I said to CNS, I said, what about this pavement, the crack seal and pavement grant that I found? Can we try to push this along? Because right now we're been spraying these cracks, but they're just going to continue to get worse if we don't do something about them. So, and as far as even how much money you'd spend out of our pocket, it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things.
Are you looking for us to give you?
Not at this time.
No.
I just want you to give it some thought.
Okay.
Like I said, MDOT hasn't even responded to any of these things. So, an update for the taxiway reconstruction. We actually had a pre-bid meeting today, and the bids are due November 4th. Just to be clear that the proposal is including lighting, signage, drainage, and grading. So this picture, and we've talked about that, but this picture kind of shows the different phases. For the blue is representing phase 1, phase 2 is the green, and phase 3 is this pink color here. My screen's a little blurry, but I believe phase 1, which we're going to actually start the idea weather dependent end of March, beginning of April for this project. But being that we can't back taxi, this is going to be closed for anywhere from 1 to 40 days is what they're anticipating. So we wanted to do it. I know we had spoken about this, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. So we flipped this around, but it seems to make most sense to close it during not as active times for flying. So this is going to be their pattern for their construction. So they'll come up, they're going to have the crushing over here, come up, stay away from the fuel farm, come down here, and then come up through the DPW to do phase 1. Phase 2 is going to look very similar. And then phase 3, which is over here, the trucks will come over this way. So, the run-up area. So, one thing that we have realized is that the run-up area is not funded through any of the FAA funding. So we did investigate how what the cost might look like for to redo the run-up area, and unfortunately, it's not very cheap. So because of the ASR, it's increasing the FOD, and it's only going to continue to get worse. And if you look at these pictures in the run-up area, this is going to just begin to crumble. So the brand new surface that we have on 422 and then the Taxiway East project, this is just going to become messy, and we are removing it because it's been recommended from our consulting firm to remove it. But in order to reconstruct it, you're looking at almost $190,000 out of our pocket to do that. So I did look into that, and at this time, I can't justify spending $190,000 for a run-up area when you can, I mean, it's just expensive. So, so that's that. And that's all I have to say. So that's it. Any questions?
So Janelle, did I understand you to say that it's going to be removed but not replaced?
It's going to be removed and not replaced. The reason is if we leave it there, there's no way to get lighting underneath of it when they're redoing all of the lighting. So that was part of the issue, because they were trying to figure out a design for lighting underneath of that run-up area, the way that the requirements are for the lighting. And there was concern with having to do it that way. And then the other concern was the grading. And then the object area, because we have to reconfigure the alpaca fence. So that's another issue, that it's just tough to keep it there all the way around. And they won't redo it. It's not funded. It's not something they're going to give money towards.
And so how is that marked off that it's not to be used? Or once you remove the existing surface, how do you keep anyone from traveling in that area?
It'll be grass. So this area here, this will all be grass, because it's right in this area.
So after it's removed, there's going to be topsoil and seed or
Either
whatever
mulch or
placed
yeah.
there?
Mhm.
Okay.
A whole lot we can do. So
Anyone have any questions or comments for Janelle on the ACIP or the Taxiway A update? Thank you, Janelle. Hearing none, we will move on to our action items, which is the 27250 Kittyhawk Ste A lease. And we have a resolution in front of us that reads, based upon the recommendation from the Grosville Airport Commerce Park manager, the Grosville Airport Commerce Park Commission hereby approves a lease with Chris Clinton for the building located at 27250 Kittyhawk Ste A. And the history, purpose, and explanation of the lease is that Mr. Clinton has been a tenant here at the airport for several years, running a successful business as a mechanic. The continued growth and success of his business has led to the demand for a larger space. It is planned that the commencement date of the new lease will be November 1st, 2022, and will run for 36 months through October 31st of 2025. The lease includes 6,000 square feet at a rental rate of $6 a square foot, which equals $2,500 a month or $30,000 a year. And the total rental rate obligation for the 3 years will be $90,000.
Move support.
Motion by Mr. Rathel,
Support.
support by Mr. Mans. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is our discussion items. We have one item, and that is the Sideline update. Janelle?
My eyes are blinded. So I wanted to bring everybody up to speed that yes, Sideline is paid up until the end of December. So effective January 1, they will have to renew their rent at $975 a month. But during recent events of learning about, is there any way we can shut that so I can?
If you want to just move
I can
out
move.
of the sun.
Yeah. I'm like, minutes. Look at. Thank you. So, recent events with, I have been working side by side with the insurance company. And during phone conversations with the insurance company and gathering more information with them, I had come to find out at the building that the gas has been locked. So the gas is not turned on at this moment. So I had spoken with DTE, and DTE informed me that their gas bill has not been paid. So approaching winter months, we are going to have to be in a position to secure the building. However, being that the fire suppression system is still broken because of not finishing all the insurance, all of the insurance stuff, we probably are going to have to just winterize the building. With that being said, we do not have to pay any past due amount to put the gas in our name. We can just put the gas in our name and the electric in the name of us. Today I got a notice in the mail because on Friday I have begun just doing the landlord-tenant. With DTE, you can just, if someone doesn't pay their bill within 60 days, you get 15 days notice and it reverts into your name. So it protects your building for winter months. So today I got a notice that the electric is now going to be shut off in the winter. So we can just continue to put it, we can put it in our name and winterize the building and kind of do what we need to do to get the fire suppression system fixed and whatever items that we need to be fixed. In front of you, there is a bill from Expert Heating and Cooling, and during my investigation last week, I did come to find out that the Expert Heating and Cooling from last winter's bill was not paid from the tenant as well. So the two bills that are in front of you at $690 or $670 have not been paid either. So I wanted to bring it to your attention that all these new findings come to find out we need to secure the building at the end of the day. So kind of looking for an update or from you guys.
Janelle, can you explain what's the issue with the insurance company?
I can. So the insurance company, we filed a claim back in January. The insurance company, I was waiting for the adjuster to call, and we kind of fell through the cracks with the insurance company. So I followed back up with the insurance company in September to say, hey, we're coming up on winter. I still haven't heard from anybody. Is this normal to take, 8 months to get back? And they said, what insurance claim? So anyways, come to find out, we kind of slipped through the cracks of the insurance company. So now everything is on fast forward, but in their due diligence to find out whether or not the property has been maintained, one of the things that they look for is to verify 60 days prior to a freeze that the heat and gas was in the property. So I have reached out to the tenant to say, hey, can we please have that documentation, because DTE will not release it to me to find out what the history of payment was 60 days prior to any freeze. And I cannot obtain that. I've called like 3 different times and spoke with 3 different people at DTE, and so I can't get that information. So my hands are tied there. So the best thing I could do is just say, all right, in the event that it's not paid, revert it back into the airport's name, and that way the building has gas and electric. And that's kind of where we stand. So at this point, I have the HVAC company going out to look at the system to make sure we can get it up and running. But as you can see in this, my understanding is that the electric was repaired, and that was why Expert went out. So the tenant, so in order for Expert to have gone out to the property, they were under the impression that the electrical was working. So they said, sure, we will go out. But then when they got out there, the electrical was not working. So tenant called in and said, hi, electrical issues have been addressed. Expert goes out. They have not been addressed. So they plugged it into an extension cord, got the heat up and going, and off they went.
And did Expert work for us or for the tenant?
The tenant.
So
The lease
we have
agreement-
nothing to do with that bill. That was work that was authorized by the tenant.
That is
And
correct.
it's just, you're notifying us that the tenant has not paid their bill.
That is correct.
So Sherry called them. We did not.
Correct.
And
So I spoke to Expert. Expert notified me because I was unclear of what this said. And she said, this is how we write it. We write it, the phone call comes in, we write it in capital letters that this is the conversation. We go out. Our understanding was the electrical issues were fixed. We got out there, they were not. I said, okay, thank you.
Has there been any communication and discussion with the tenant about why the gas has been, why they haven't been paying their gas bill?
I did not ask the question on why she's not paying the gas bill. I asked her whether or not she was going to have the gas and electric on during the winter time. And her statement was yes. But keep in mind, there has been no conversation outside of any text message. I texted her the other day while I was with the insurance company, explaining to her that I needed to get the history of the DTE bill. She shared with me that she was working on estate matters that were basically more important than this. But she did want to cooperate. So, I'm perplexed because she's paid us our rent, but doesn't seem, so I reached out to the assessing office here at the township. The taxes have not been paid. I communicated with the water department. The water department has not been paid, but we have been paid. So that, those were the questions I asked Margie, and I went through the process.
I know that the township now has new legal counsel, but it seems to me that this is an issue that needs legal advice if they're paying us rent, but they're not following through with other obligations as it relates to operating the building. It seems to me that we need legal advice as to how to move forward to make sure that that building does not come under disrepair during the wintertime if there's no gas there.
So my question is that because we are under new legal counsel, how can we expedite this in the next month or two? Bless you. Right? So,
Yeah, I would assume
bless you.
need to try to elevate that up on the priority list with the new legal counsel.
I have a question on, Craig, maybe you can weigh in on this. do we need to winterize, do we need to have the gas and electric on in the building to just winterize it, put it to bed?
Well, that was gonna be one of my questions, really, is if they're not operating, I don't know why.
Well, if there's no water, right? There's
You
no
winterize
water.
it, you probably don't need heat. And if nobody's gonna come in and out of there and work or do anything, you probably don't need lights.
You don't. And the only thing that you would need heat for is that if the water was on. So.
But it is, you've confirmed it is off, Janelle.
So the water is on at the meter, but it is on. It's off at the meter and on at the main. Is that,
Is there any water
No.
going to the building? If they turn the faucet on, will water come out?
no,
Okay.
I don't believe so. I have to verify that.
Yeah, 'cause they would have had to have, turned it off to the fire suppression system. I mean, that
Yeah,
wouldn't
so
be
it's- but
charged
it's-
with the
but
breaks,
it-
but it could be to the other plumbing. in the building.
Correct. But I talked to, it's on to the building though.
And I was
Therefore,
gonna
it's
ask-
off at the meter.
Sorry.
There's antifreeze in the toilet bowl. Not by us, but there was antifreeze in
Well,
the.
maybe it's been winterized, but might need to be checked.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the lease is readily available and handy, because I think Ron was touching on, they may be paying rent, but those other items, probably items of default. Not payment of utilities and.
Number one concern over the winter is to make sure that
That's number one concern.
I assume if there's no water there, then,
freeze through there and
yeah, there's no concern of anything freezing. So do we care that there's no gas and electric there? I mean,
No.
they could be operating it just as cold storage, I guess.
Right.
And,
It doesn't have to be climate controlled.
right.
And at this
and if-
point, the only reason that I feel that there would be reason for gas and electric would be for the maintenance of the building from an insurance standpoint.
Does our insurance require the building to be heated?
It seemed to me that our insurance company requires for it to be maintained. And part of the maintenance of it is having a functional fire suppression system. So, because there's one existing, but then, so that was what I understood.
Well, that's a big issue in my mind,
Yeah.
if we're required to have a fire suppression system.
But you can't get, you
Hot
can't,
water.
but you
Yeah.
can't get the fire suppression system up and working until you have water, which you can't have that
Understood,
until you have all gas and electric.
Can you confirm for us, Janelle, that the insurance requires that there be an operating fire suppression system then there in the building?
Or simpler, are we able to just winterize the building by shutting off all the water and all the power, period? And would our insurance policy still cover that?
And that would be the simpler thing, which is what we are looking into. And the insurance company, we had that discussion and we were to follow up with each other. Once I got people in there, because we may be out of time in order to get parts. I mean, the fire suppression system across the street, we waited almost 6 months for one part. So,
But we have another question, and we're done with that. I think we can just,
yeah,
like, how we're gonna handle it. But the larger question is, moving forward on January 1st. So, do we take any more rent money from her? If we take rent money from her, then we're saying, okay, well, you're still in the building and you are a tenant in good standing. However, she's at default because she hasn't paid the electric and the gas and the bills according to her lease, right?
Correct.
So what do we do January 1st? What do we do now? Do we start an eviction process to have her out by January 1st? Or do we do that January 1st? Or we just January 1st go, hey, you want to pay us for another 3 months? Basically forgive the debt of the non-payment of the utilities that she's responsible for the monies that we're getting for a building.
But doesn't she owe that money to the utility company? She doesn't owe it to us, right?
Yeah, that's true,
That's
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
So that
So her only debt, that's a good point,
Yeah.
because
DTE's
she's
debt
paying
is-
directly. So
Yes.
the only debt is the water bill and the tax bill.
That would be correct.
And if the lease requires her to be paying utilities
Then
and she is in
she's-
default, then
then-
I think we need to give her notice that she's in default. And she
She's in
needs to
default.
correct the default.
Well,
It's
that's
not looking
current.
good.
That's
No,
current,
And do we
right?
have proof
No, it's
of
not.
insurance? Do we have an active insurance policy, which would be a lease requirement?
The lease requirements would be the insurance, that there is, utilities. I think that we just need to go back to the lease and look at she needs to have insurance on the building according to the lease requirements.
Well, typically, the tenant can't insure
A vacant,
property for fire. They would insure their contents and liability. Both landlord and tenant would carry liability, but you can check with your insurance carrier. I believe it's against state insurance regulations for a tenant to buy fire or property insurance for obvious reasons anybody could buy. Property insurance and burn it down and collect a claim. So, need to be clear on that.
So Janelle, you're gonna follow up to find out if there is water turned on or not.
there is water turned on.
Okay,
There is water turned on.
okay.
I did talk to Donna about that.
So we have an issue that it could freeze.
We have to get the water turned off and somehow get the property winterized, but that comes back to the conversation and wrapping back around with the insurance company to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing to make sure that the property is still insured.
And you're
Do what
gonna
they-
check the lease to make sure that it requires her to have, she's supposed to maintain the utilities there and be paid up.
That is one,
Current.
yep, that is one thing that the insurance company also looks at, is the terms of the lease as well. So there's documentation that I'm gathering and sending it over to the insurance company.
Would you be in favor of starting eviction procedures right now, putting the gas and electric in our name and maintaining the building through the winter?
I would be,
Just be done with it?
I would be. In the event that, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing to secure the building.
I think that's
Yeah.
the best. There's
Yeah.
there's so many loose ends. I mean, we don't know, with the fire suppression system being out, insurance-wise, there's a lot of things that have to happen. And then just because the water's turned off, your building can still sustain damage from things cracking, paint cracking. I mean, if you have severe cold, there's other things that can happen besides just water lines freezing.
So the building really is a pretty strong building. It's like a cinder block building. So the only structure in that building was an office space, a kitchen, and a bathroom. And those were built out back in probably the mid-70s, and those are destroyed due to the fire suppression system leak. I mean, but other than that, Greg, you've seen the building. There's not a lot of system outside of there's what I believe 3 tube heaters that are in there, and then there's a forced air furnace that's in there. And it sounded like from this report that we got from expert that the motherboard was shot and I'm gonna guess that was the gas furnace, but I'll find out more on Monday when I talk to them.
And then one other question on expert, did they make any sort of inference that they were looking for payment on the pipe that was
They-
paid from us?
They went to small claims court.
Okay, yes, it's on. Okay.
Do we do a lot of work with expert?
We do, and.
So here's
with-
here's,
with-
you want to go
Yep,
further than that?
because I think I'm
Okay.
going to answer you. With that being said, we do a ton of work with Expert. And Expert now has been out to that building for $600 or $670. I did make payment to go forward with them because I don't want to have bad reputation with a company that we rely on heavily to do emergency situations such as this. So we called Expert, they were out that day. So in order for good faith to continue on a good relationship with them, we did make a payment to them for this.
So you did pay this,
We did end up paying it, yes.
okay? Okay, so that's what I was gonna recommend. And I would say that we just winterize, or put the gas and electric in our name, maintain the building through the winter, and immediately start eviction procedures.
Come January 1.
No, immediately.
No, I think now,
Okay,
no.
okay,
Again, I'd confer with legal counsel, but
yeah.
I think we should do it now.
Do you have something to say, Dave?
No, we can call, you've got Kristen's, the new attorney's.
I do, I think she was supposed to reach out with me.
If we wait until January,
Right.
they already owe us for January.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
And that doesn't happen overnight, so
Correct.
it takes time.
That's what I would think.
That would be
Or
it.
before,
Or before.
like now. And if we have to, if legally we have to refund anything, let's just move on.
Okay.
The big question still remains is that, you know, we don't have fire suppression in all of our buildings, right? And that one,
okay, all right.
being a cinder block building and everything, I know why it was there, because it was used for ammunition storage during the Navy days. We gotta find out whether we can just remove it and be done with it. And, if we can't remove it for whatever reason, how much is it gonna cost? I mean, it would be far and above the worth of actually fixing it to rent that building out. And now those start leading into conversations of demolition. So these are things that we need answers for, like, soon.
Well, I'm meeting the fire suppression people out there this week, later this week, at least. No. However, the break was from what I could tell, it was like a coupling that broke, and you can see it actually split, and it just collapsed down in two different spots. But I don't know. I don't have a ladder up there. It's not very light in that building. So when I get more information, I'll let you know.
Thanks, Janelle. Any other comments or questions on Skyline? Hearing none, we'll move on to our next item is the subcommittee reports. We have none tonight. Chairman's report, I have nothing new to report tonight. Public comment, no one in the public tonight. Our next item is to adjourn the meeting. Motion by Mr. Mann, supported by Mr. Nadu to adjourn the meeting at 6:50. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed,